And some other news this morning, the Democratic National Convention kicks off tonight in Chicago. In addition to the convention delegates, the city has been flooded with thousands of people who also want to get their message across, and that will be some protesters.
Christine Frizzell is on the ground in Chicago and gets us what you can look forward to when it comes to this year's Democratic National Convention.
The party often compared to a big tent, a home for those whose top issues span a wide range of priorities, already seeing firsthand what that means. This as President Joe Biden prepares to pass the torch to his Vice President Kamala Harris, surrounded by Democrats, hoping to show a united front. Meanwhile, protesters outside expressing anger and frustration, in particular for the Biden administration's support for Israel as it carries out its war in Gaza.
And as people that are concerned with rights for bodily autonomy, we cannot keep silent when a genocide is happening, particularly when it's supported to the hilt by our own government.
Battles have been heated in the city of Chicago over where the protests would take place. Activists angry their permitted protest zones were more than a mile away from the convention center.
It speaks to a lack of accountability on our politicians' part. They don't really seem to want to hear from us right now.
More than 200 organizations have joined forces to voice displeasure about a host of issues. A leftist anti-imperialist group behind enemy lines urging supporters to make 2024 as great as 1968, posting, "Make bruises from Chicago police batons the 2024 back-to-school fall fashion."
If there are troublemakers, they're going to get arrested and they're going to get convicted. But the fact is that the vast majority of people who are protesting, and we've seen this before, are, peaceful protesters.
Chicago police are already in full force, with more than 500 outside officers in town to help, plus federal law enforcement agents on the ground, where the current president, 2 former presidents, and the woman hoping to become president will all gather this week. In Chicago, I'm Christine Frizzell.
All right, also happening this week, former President Donald Trump and Vice Presidential candidate Senator J.D. Vance will try to make sure they're in the headlines as well. They're set to talk at an event in our state. This is the second week in a row that Donald Trump will be in North Carolina. The Trump-Vance campaign announced they'll be talking about national security issues. This will all take place at the North Carolina Aviation Museum and Hall of Fame. You know where that is? That's in Asheboro, not far from Greensboro. They plan to be there Wednesday afternoon. The announcement comes just days after Donald Trump's visit to Asheville in the western part of our state.